Welcome to the Unleash Your Power podcast. I'm your host, Anastasia Jones, creativity mentor, author, and limiting belief gladiator. My purpose is to help you transcend fear, take bold, aligned action, and co-create the life and business of your wildest dreams. The world needs your art now more than ever. And if you're ready to embody the creative force within you, then you're in the right place. Now is the time to make your mark. Now is the time to unleash your power. It is finally spring, and while you are spring cleaning your homes, why not take some time to spring clean your personal brand? I am hosting for the month of April free 30-minute brand voice clarity calls. Now, this feels like a therapy session for your personal brand. You'll get really clear on your brand's unique story. We'll work through common themes and key insights that will help you show up more effectively and authentically online. And you'll come back with clear brand messaging that will resonate with your ideal audience so that you can sell with soul and market with greater ease. I want you to leave feeling so reignited, so powerful, so motivated, and ready to continue taking your brand to the next level. So check the link in the show notes or visit anastasiajones.com. Select the free brand voice clarity call and get on my calendar. There are only a few spots left for the month of April, and once April is over, these are retiring, so get in on it while you still can. Now, let's dive into this episode because you are going to love it. Oh, welcome back, everybody. I am so happy that you're here. This episode is really special to me, really dear to my heart. It is my gift to you. I am pulling back the curtain and giving you a sneak peek into some of the, you can call them mindset hacks, some of the things that I do, the things that I intentionally think in order to bring me from an experience of lack into abundance, or move me from fear to taking aligned action. Or, I'm going to dive deeper into all five of these things, but they are really like games that I play in my head to help me recalibrate to what I want, to my more powerful state, my higher self, if you will. And before we begin, I believe that it's important that we have a bias toward what feels good for us to hold. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I have the choice between two thoughts, two beliefs, I'm going to choose the belief that feels better for me to hold. So I want to start by saying that because all five of these practices that I implement literally on a daily basis, all five of these things, that's the common denominator. It's allowing myself to be intentional and choose the thing that feels good for me to hold, because I know that my beliefs inform my reality. And here's what I mean by that. So what we believe informs our feelings, and our feelings turn into actions, and those actions in turn inform our results, meaning our reality. So what we think about, we bring about. I'm not sure who said that, but an author at some point I read that. What we think about, we bring about. And so our whole human experience can change based on one small, simple shift in perception toward the thing, the bias that feels good for us to hold, toward a thought that is more loving, more kind, filled with more gratitude. That's what I mean by recalibrating. Like, we can go from experiencing these things that don't feel good for us to hold to things that do, beliefs that do. And when we choose to look at the world through this lens of love, gratitude, all the fruits of the spirit, it changes our human experience. It changes our reality. It changes what we see and we perceive. And so Belief changes everything. It changes everything. There's this story in the Bible about a woman who has this severe blood disease. And I mean, in the Bible, it talks about how she's had it for a long time. And one day, Jesus was walking in a crowd full of people, like a ton of people. And the story goes that this woman crawled through this crowd of people and barely touched the hem of Jesus's garment because she believed that she would be healed if she could just touch him. If she could just touch him, she would be healed. He didn't even have to look at her. He didn't even have to know she was there. She just believed so through and through in her body, like, I will be fully healed if I touch the hem of Jesus's garment. She probably heard about the healings that had taken place before, and she just thought, if I could just get near him, close to him, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I'd be healed. So when she reached him, she touches the hem of his robe, and in the middle of this large crowd, Jesus is like, whoa, 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 who touched me? Now that's crazy, because I'm sure so many people were just touching him, trying to get his attention, and he knew that someone touched him, because he said, I felt like power flow out of me. And that really blows my mind. So he finds this woman, he sees her, and he's like, oh my gosh, it was you. And he said, my daughter, your belief has made you well. And I think that's so neat, because he didn't say, I have made you well. He said, your belief has healed you. And I know in my heart of hearts that we all have this divine power to heal ourselves, to believe, and our belief informs our reality, informs our whole human experience. So these are all mindset hacks that I'm sharing with you that strengthen my belief and also place me in my soul seat, in my position of power, in moments where I feel disempowered momentarily, or moments where I'm responding and acting and believing fearfully. This is how I calibrate higher. Now, I'm saying all of these things because these are all my personal practices. I didn't read these anywhere. Like, I don't know who else does these things, but this is what goes on behind the curtain. So my whole intention for you is that you would hear these practices and they would encourage and inspire your belief and help you be, even more aware and conscious of the power that you hold. And yeah, that's really what I want. So let's dive in. Number one, this is how I transmute jealousy into gratitude and abundance. Jealousy is belief. When you're jealous, you are believing, and that belief is so powerful. So when you see something that you want and you become jealous, because it's fine to see things and be like, oh, I desire that. That's nice. Oh, that's cool. I never even saw that, never even knew that was a possibility. But now that I see it, I know that it's a possibility, which means it's for me. Like, I'm talking jealousy. Like when you see something someone has, or you see something that someone is doing, and you feel it and you become jealous, right? That's what I'm talking about here. When you experience that, you're essentially saying that if that person has that thing, then there isn't enough for me. Or because that person already has that thing, I can't have that thing. Jealousy, here's what I do. First of all, I believe that I took notes here because I was like, I need to make sure that I'm saying all of what I do step by step. I believe that that time as we know it is a construct, and here's why. There is the version of time that happens when you boil a pot of water and you're looking at it. And by golly, if that pot of water doesn't take an infinity to actually start boiling. So there's that version of time. There's also the version of time when you're with your lover your partner. And wow, does time fly? 1 hour feels like literally 10 minutes. A whole day feels like the blink of an eye, right? When you're with, so there's that version of time where it's like, it goes so fast. There's the version of time when you're sitting in traffic and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been in the car for 45 minutes and it's only been 10 or whatever it might be. So time as we know it, I love playing with my thoughts around time, and we don't know what we're talking about. Okay. It's 7:41 Eastern time right now as I'm recording this. What does that even mean? Like, who came up with this? Somebody came up with this. And we all were just like, sure, we're on the same page. We need this version of time as well in order to all be in sync, all be on the same page, show up to meetings when we're supposed to, all those things. And so there's also that version of time. So, anyway, I'm saying all this to say, because I believe that when I experience jealousy or when something comes into my awareness that I desire, I visualize myself in a totally different timeline having that thing already. And I now believe, okay, keyword believe, I now believe when I see something that I desire, it is because I already have it in another timeline. And that thing is actually so familiar to me that in this timeline where I'm sitting, I recognize it. I recognize it. That's how I think about it. That's immediately what my mind does. And this has been years that I've done this. So over time, it's been really cool to see how that attitude of like familiarity and gratitude, it like, I don't know, it makes me just so grateful for what I have right now. It makes me grateful for what I will have in the present. And it replaces that fear-based lack mentality with this gratitude, this abundance mentality. And that higher calibration is what calls in what you want. I say like we get prizes based on the games we play. And so if we play the game of they have it, I don't, I want it, I can't have it, something about it, like that game, you're not going to like the prizes that you get. But if you play the game that's like, oh, that is so cool. I think the reason that I'm even noticing it is because I already have it. There's a space and time where I possess this thing and I have fun with this thing and I love doing this thing. I love having this thing, and the only reason I'm even recognizing it is because it's familiar to me, and that's so cool that I get to be on this side of that reality, seeing it from this perspective. How cool. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. That's so neat. Right? That's a totally different game. And that recalibrates you from lack back to abundance, which is our natural state, and calls in the things that you want. I also think about it like I think about it like Spider-Man, you know? Like you have like Spider-Man has this spidey sense, this tingling that happens just before he encounters danger. He's like, "Oh," his intuition is like, "Oop, something's happening," like tingles all over the body. It's like something's going on, something's going down. I got to be aware. I got to be alert. Right? But I think about it like whenever I experience jealousy or whenever I see something that I desire, I just feel like that's my spidey sense tingling. That thing is familiar to me. I already have it. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so thankful for it. And I say to myself, like, the only reason I'm noticing it is because it's already mine. I'm perceiving it because I've already received it in a timeline. So, yeah, just the wildest thing starts to happen. Like, you can be, when you're in this state of gratitude and when you're strengthening your awareness and your mindset around these things, you start to be happy for everyone else. Like I noticed this thing where I'm like, oh, that person is doing that thing. That's so cool. It's familiar to me because I do that thing too. I'm the only reason I'm even pointing it out is because I do that thing too. I'm so happy that they're doing that thing because now I see it. It's brought that thing, their actions have brought that thing into alignment with me. And now because I'm seeing it, I believe it's for me. And because I believe it's for me, I'm going to receive it in time. And so then you start to become really freaking grateful for people who show you this, who show you that it's possible. And I would bet that there are experiences and moments in your life where you have shown someone else that something is possible that wasn't even in their awareness. They didn't even know they wanted to do it. They didn't even know that it was for them until they saw you do it. And then they thought, oh my gosh, she's doing it. I can do it. I didn't even realize that was an option for me. So then that's a totally different game, baby. And we love those prizes. So that's number one, transmuting jealousy into gratitude and abundance. That's how I do it. That's my mindset hack. Mindset hack number two, relaxing into time and opening up new realities. I love this one so much. There's so much to say here. If you've ever found yourself rushing because maybe you're late for a meeting, you're late for something, I don't know, you're just not following the schedule you made and you're behind in your own schedule. Maybe you're just mentally occupied and trying to get to the next thing. You're stressed. Whenever I'm in moments like this, I find that I hold my breath. And I find that I hold my breath because I'm like, when I realize I'm holding my breath, I take a deep breath and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm holding my breath. That means I'm trying to control something. That means I'm trying to be in control. That means I perceive everything being out of control and I need to get back in control, but I can't control these things. So I'm holding my breath. So whenever I notice that I'm holding my breath, first of all, noticing it is huge. Just even bringing into awareness that you are trying to control and you're holding your breath, your body's telling you that you're trying to control because you're holding your breath. Even noticing it, that's called neutral observation. And the moment you notice it, you immediately step into the seat of the observer of your own body, mind, and soul. You're now observing what's happening inside of you. And that is the soul seat. That's the power seat. That is the seat of your higher self, is able to observe and look down on the creation that is you. Look into the creation that is you. So the moment you notice that, let me speak in first person, the moment I notice that I'm holding my breath, I immediately think, okay, I'm trying to control something. What am I trying to control? And then I always have an answer. The Holy Spirit's always like, you're trying to control how someone thinks about you, how someone perceives you based on the time that you arrive. You're trying to think about how someone perceives you based on what you're wearing when you show up to this, whatever. You're trying to control. So fill in the freaking blank. There's always something to fill in, usually multiple things to fill in. So once I observe that, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to control, I like roll my shoulders back. And if you're watching the video version of this, you'll see me. I roll my shoulders back and I take a deep breaths and I relax into the flow, is the best way I can put it. I relax and I relax into trust. I relax into slowing down. And then I do this thing where I bend time. And I say that because I remind myself, because time is a construct, because time is not linear, there is a version of this that works out beyond my wildest dreams. There is a version of this that once I relax into time, remind myself that it's a construct, that what I'm trying to control is an illusion, I leave space for God to be God. I leave space for other variables to work out in my favor. I leave space to relax, to trust. And ultimately, what ends up happening is that I inevitably experience this sense of grace and self love that in the whole encounter that invites more pleasant experiences and interactions into my awareness. So, what do I mean by this? For instance, let's say um, I'm driving to dinner with a friend and I'm late because there's traffic and I'm stressed. I'm holding my breath. So I notice that I'm holding my breath and I think, oh, that must mean I'm trying to control something. What am I trying to control? That puts me in the seat of the observer, my soul seat. I neutrally observe what's happening in my mind and body. And I realize I'm trying to control that I arrive on time. On time. I'm using quotation marks, air quotes, on time. I'm trying, because why? Because I want this person to like me. And I think if I don't arrive on time, they're going to be angry with me. And I don't want to feel what that feels like for someone to be mad at me. I want to be liked. I don't want to be rejected. So like you can go as deep as you want there. But I say this to myself and then I think, what would it look like if I relaxed? If I took a deep breath and I stopped trying to control the things that are out of my control. And I just flowed with it. And sure, I see the time on the GPS. It says estimated arrival, 20 minutes after I'm supposed to be there. But what if I allowed other variables to be at play here? And then I start playing with time. I think to myself, what if I allow time to bend for me? And then I say, time bends for me. And believe it or not, usually one of two or three things happen. Either I just enjoy my ride. I just enjoy the ride more. Sure, I'm in traffic, but then it's like I'm playing a different game and I'm kind of having fun with it. I'm thinking about all these different ways that this could unfold for me. Now I'm curious. Now I'm like, I wonder how this is going to work out. Because every time I do this, something happens. And wouldn't you know it, I arrive 20 minutes later and I'm still early because my friend was also in traffic. Or my friend had something happen before she left the house. So she comes up to me worried that I'm going to be mad. And I get to say, girl, it's all good. I'm so glad we made it. I'm so glad we're here. Everybody's good. Everything's fine. Or sometimes what happens is, sure, the GPS reads traffic, but then I find a lane. I don't know what happens, but I find a lane and I just cruise. And it's back-to-back traffic to the left and the right of me, but I'm cruising. And I get there on time, or maybe a few minutes late. But all that to say that the prevailing thing is that when I choose to release control and relax into the flow and allow time to bend for me, not try to control the way these mysterious things work, I just allow myself to be grateful, to be in the moment, to get curious, to have fun, to let myself off the fucking hook. I don't swear very often on this podcast. I swear a lot in real life. But truly, when I allow myself to let myself off the hook, oh my God, it totally changes my reality. When I stop beating myself up, when I'm doing the best I literally can. I left the house in the time that I thought. I looked it up ahead of time. I said, okay, it should take X amount of time. If I leave by this time, I should get there early. I should be able to. And then traffic was just bad, like Anastasia, so this is what I do to myself. I can beat myself up. I get so stressed out. I hold my breath. I try to control. And then, and then that's how I move myself from that fear based state and recalibrate to this more loving, more gracious, more joyful, more curious state. Like that's how I do it. That's a game I play with myself. And I call it relaxing into time. And it opens up new realities. Um, okay. I think that's everything I wanted to say for number 2. Number 3, visualizing the desired outcome. Now, this is actually how I pray. Like this, what I'm about to tell you is my prayer practice. Like when people say, pray for me, or when I say, I'm praying for you, this, what I'm about to tell you, is what I mean. This is actually what I do. Okay? This is how I pray for friends, family, strangers, world events. I put my intention and my belief into what I desire to see for them, for the scenario, for the situation. I put my energy and intention into visualizing what it's like to be in right relationship with the thing. And I put that into my mind's eye. And I see the person experiencing what it feels like for them to be joyful, whole, healthy, power in their power. I visualize this in my mind's eye clearly for as long as I can. And I allow that picture to inform my feelings, my feelings. That is how I pray for and intercede for the people I love. That's how I do it. What I do not do is picture them in pain. What I do not do is picture them in their distress. I don't do that. I would say that's how I used to pray. It kind of was like hyper fixated on what's going wrong, or like, I don't know how else to describe this, but at least for me, I'll say for me, I used to see the pain that they're experiencing, and then I used to pray that it would go away. I used to say, oh, they have a headache. Lord, I pray this headache goes away. And that was how I would pray. But the more I'm learning about power and the energy of our intentions changing our reality, and I mean, I realize that it's powerful to see someone in the state of their bliss and their joy, to see someone in right relationship with themselves, in a state where they are experiencing full mind, body, soul connection, joy, abundance. So I don't focus on what's going wrong for the person and then healing that. I actually focus immediately and specifically on what it looks like for them to be in right relationship or whole or happy or joy. And I hope that makes sense. I mean, these are games that I play with myself. So I'm finding it now kind of hard to translate that into a way that, but I believe that if it resonates with you, you get what I'm saying. You get where I'm coming from. Okay, so that's number 3, visualizing the desired outcome. That being how I pray, and for myself and for others. So even in my prayer time in the morning, I am visualizing every single day desired outcomes, whatever's on my heart, for myself, for my friends, for my family. I'm picturing what it looks like to be in right relationship with that thing and to be whole and in my power. Okay, number 4, calling out the illusions and revising them. I do this a lot. I do this so much. And this is essentially you acknowledging your thoughts. Now, I want to preface this by saying I grew up in in the time of Final Destination movies. Now, if you know what I'm talking about, you're my people, okay? If you were alive and well in the time of Final Destination and you know what those movies are, and you grew up with them too, like this is going to resonate with you. So, for those of you who don't know, the Final Destination movies were like all the rage growing up. And the whole premise is that, like, for one of the movies, I say they're kids because I mean, now they just look so young, but I don't know, they might have been in their 20s. But these kids are going on this trip. They're going to like Paris or something. And right before they get, or maybe they're on the plane, they're in their seats. And I'm going to drink some water real quick. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. They're on the plane, they're in their seats. And one of them gets this premonition that's in his mind. He sees the plane exploding in the air and all of them dying. He sees it happening. And because he sees it, he's convinced that he believes it. Like it's like a visceral spidey sense situation. So he tells all his friends, get off the plane. We got to get off the plane. They're like, whoa, what's going on? They all get off the plane. And they're watching as the plane takes off. And wouldn't you know it, if that plane doesn't blow up in midair, and they're watching it happen and they're like, oh my God. But because this group of kids cheated death comes for them. This is the movie. Because they cheated death comes for them. And one by one, all these kids die in these really crazy scenarios. I mean, I can't even tell, crazy scenarios like they're driving down the street, but then like a tree out of nowhere, a tree branch falls off and hits them and they die immediately. Or like they're on a roller coaster and they're on a roller coaster and one of the tracks has been jiggling and wiggling for weeks and nothing's happened. But now when they're on it, it breaks off and they die, right? So like they're dying based on where their seat assignment was, and like the further back you go, anyway. So this didn't do great things for me growing up watching these movies, because I tend to still think in Final Destination, or like I still picture worst case scenarios out of nowhere. Like I'm walking on my little nature walk and I'm like, what if a wolf came out right now and tried to fight me? And then like out of nowhere, like what, Anastasia? What? Does that even make sense? So you probably do this too. I do this a lot. And so, that's a more like silly example. But another example is like friendships. When you're like, what if this person, said this to me, and what if I got so mad, and what if I cussed them out, and what if they cussed me out, and then what if we didn't talk for 5 years? And then it's like, whoa, that literally has never happened, probably will never happen unless you make it happen. And by focusing on those worst case scenarios, that's the game we're playing. That's what we're bringing about. That's the game we're playing. That's what we're believing. That's our intention. So that's what we're manifesting if we stay in that state. And so what I do is learn to call out those illusions and completely revise them. So it's all about acknowledging thoughts. And excuse me. Wow, I think I'm losing my voice. Whew. So for instance, I say whenever this happens to me, and I've become more aware, hyper aware of when it happens. It happens a lot. I do this multiple times a day. I literally say, whenever I have the thought, I literally say, wow. I say, whoa, wait. That is not real. That has never happened. There is no information that I have received that means this has happened. This is entirely fake. This is not real. And then I say, and then I like visualize what I actually want to happen. I visualize the outcome that I desire. I visualize being in right relation, that thing, that scenario, I like re-visualize it in right relationship with itself. So the most recent time this has happened is driving my car. Driving in my car, the car in front of me is driving, and I just like visualize, what if that car, this is crazy. What if that car swerved off the side of the road and I had to stop and help them? It's like literally a scenario that happened yesterday. And then I said, whoa, wait, that is not real. That has never happened. There is no information, no physical evidence, tangible information that I have that says that this happened or even will happen. And then I immediately visualized this car not driving off the, I visualized it driving normally, safely, taking their next turn, using their blinker, taking the turn safely and smoothly, and me continuing to drive. So instead of visualizing them like in an accident and then me calling it and all the stuff that my mind was going, I revised it in my mind. First of all, I neutrally observed that I was doing this. Then I spoke out. This is important. I spoke out, that is not real. That is an illusion. I have no evidence that this has ever happened or will happen. And then I picture what I desire. And sometimes I even say, what I desire to see is, and then I'll picture it in my mind. And so, all that to say, that's the game that, because I know what we think about, we bring about. So I know it seems harmless, like you're just thinking like, oh, this is just a worst case. No, it's so pervasive, because then you start doing that in your relationships. And then you start doing that at work. And then you start doing that. And then next thing you know, you're receiving these prizes, manifesting this experience that you literally don't want. So spend time and intention picturing the things that you do. And do not be afraid to revise the whole experience. Do not be afraid to revise the whole day if you want. Okay. Picture what you desire clearly. And if you can emotionally connect with it, great. Like for that instance I just shared with you, what I emotionally connected to when I visualized the scenario in right relationship, I pictured um, a car full of a happy family, and just taking a ride, laughing, joking. Like if we can go full tilt with our imagination, if our imaginations are endless, which they are, why not spend energy and intention imagining the most beautiful, best case scenario of the thing? Why not? If you can play both games, why not play the game that feels better for you to hold? Okay. Having the bias toward a bias toward what feels good for us to hold and perceive. Okay. Number 5. This one's called No Negatives, which I love the name, because it's in fact negative. Okay. I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, but I read or heard that God, the universe listens and responds in the affirmative. So when we say, this is just an example, I don't want to trip. Oh no, I don't want to trip, or I don't want to fall. The universe actually hears, I want to trip. I want to fall. Or when we say, oh, I don't want to keep getting bills in the mail. The universe hears, I want more bills in the mail. Or when we say, what's another example? I don't want, well, I'm just going to start with those 2 examples. You get the point. The universe only hears in the affirmative. So when we speak in the negative, when we believe in the negative, we're actually calling it to us, because what the universe hears is the affirmative of that statement. So I heard this somewhere and I thought, oh, let me play a game. Let me play a game to only speak and think in the affirmative, in the language of love, in the language of God, the universe. I was like, let me let me start doing this. What I know to be true is this: words are powerful. When our intention is spoken, is written into words, it's powerful. I mean, the Bible talks about life and death being in the power of the tongue, speaking everything into existence. Um, there's also been studies on water and how and you know those studies, I don't know if you've heard about this. You can do this experiment at home, but like you have rice, you put rice and water into like two different jars. And one jar is only positive thoughts. You think only positive thoughts. You hold the jar, you think only positive intentions. You do the same, you hold the other jar, you think negative thoughts, you think negative intentions. You put negative intention toward it. And you see over time what happens to each of these jars. Like they've done all these studies on how the makeup, things change based on your intention toward the thing. So like, you know how they say like talk to your plants, they'll grow? It's true. Our intention informs creation. And so this is no different. That so what I do in number 5 is I try to think and speak in the affirmative. And I mean, even think about it, like when they call it spells, what do you think they call it? Spells. Written, language, words, intention. That's why they call it spells. So anyway, our words hold power. So I like to be more aware of my words. And if I'm thinking in the negative, I switch it to thinking or speaking in the affirmative. And actually this one's been really hard. It takes a lot of discipline and a lot of grace, and time to think about what I'm actually trying to say. So, for example, instead of thinking, I don't want her to talk to me like that. If the universe heard that, the universe would hear, I want her to talk to me like that. So however she's talking to me that I didn't like, I'm actually calling in more of it by thinking that thought. I don't want her to talk to me like that means however she's talking to me, the universe thinks that I want more of it. So instead, I say to myself, I want her to talk to me with kindness and respect. The universe hears that as like, oh, she wants her to talk to her with kindness and respect. Okay, let me help and conspire in her favor to bring that about. Now, this I've realized is also really great when you're talking to your friends and your loved ones and like anyone in general. Instead of saying, I don't want this, say what you want. And that clarity is kind. It's so much kinder for the people listening and receiving what you're saying. It's like, okay, she wants me to talk to her with kindness and respect. She's not saying what she doesn't want, she's saying what she wants. And ladies, we need to say exactly what we want more often. What do you want? I'm going to tell you what I want. That just reminded me of The Notebook. What do you want? What do you want? So, I talked about this earlier, but like we get prizes based on the games we play. And so if you're playing the I hate that, I don't like that, I don't want that game all the time, you're going to get those prizes, the prizes that you'll keep in that game. But if you play the I want, I like, I love, no, I desire. Instead of I want, I like to say I desire. I desire blank. I love blank. I like blank. Blank feels good for me. If you play that game, you're going to get the prizes that you want to keep when you play that game. Okay, we have come to the end of the episode. So we talked about all 5. We've covered transmuting jealousy into gratitude and abundance. We've covered relaxing into time and opening up new realities. We've covered visualizing the desired outcome. We've covered calling out illusions and revising them. And last but most certainly not least, we've covered no negatives. So I love you. And I want for you to have the most fulfilling, joyful, happy, blissful human experience of all time. Talk to you soon. Hey friend, thanks for listening. I'm so happy you're here. If this episode helped you in any way, please take a screenshot, share it with a friend, post it to social media, and better yet, why don't you leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening from? My desire is to activate as many creatives as possible. And if you are looking for additional support on your creative journey, you can always connect with me on Instagram at AnastasiaRJD, or visit the links in the show notes. We've got free resources to reignite your creativity and soul-centered ways that we can continue to work together. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same place.